Anne-Charlotte. So we do a Menti exercise again today. So Anne-Charlotte will bring up the slides and I talk and you write, and then we'll see where we get to. So what I would like to present to you is the RI Logistica we have, so to speak, invented at ESS, in that sense that we have identified a need that we would like to share with a broader community. And in order to collect your feedback, I want you to go to menti.com and use the code 5863745. So menti.com 5863745. And then you should see as a first question, what's your name and affiliation? Okay, we almost know everyone's name and affiliation because we've talked already, but please type it in.
If it's working?
So we have Martin, we have Anton, we have Nikolai, we have Fair, yes.
Strange.
Jake, yes. Jan. Okay. Antonio, have you managed?
No, it's not working.
Okay, you need to go to a different browser, you know, that's...
Yeah, you can do it on your phone.
Yeah.
But then typing is a little bit complicated when you do it on the phone, especially when you have an autocorrect. We had that yesterday, that was very funny, when the phone autocorrect typed in funny things. Okay, I see. Fair is here in the middle of everything. So, okay, let's wait until Antonio is online. And then we go to the next slide.
I will try. Sorry for the problem. Last time it was working very well. This time, not.
58637.
Now that it's reacting.
Very good. Okay, you're in? Yeah, perfect. Then, okay, yes. So what are you, an ILO, an ICO, or are you something else? Or have you a dual personality like Sonia? I mean, so, no, she just, so. We have 3 ILOs. How many people do we have who should respond? Yeah, 6 responses. Anybody else who, because I know we don't participate, so how many responses should we collect? Anne-Charlotte, maybe that we count? Maybe 7 or 8, right? Okay. Okay, I think it's, who's the other? Now we have more others. So who are the others? We know the ILOs. Who qualified as an other? Anton, did you say your other? Grete, your other?
I would say other, yeah.
Yes, okay. Anton, are you also an other?
No, I took ICO because that's my personal background. But Jake, I'm assuming, would have taken other.
Right. Okay, very good. So, and the other, the ILOs we know, that was Jan, that's Tone, and who's the third ILO?
That's me.
Of course, Nikolai. Yeah, you qualify. Yeah, very good.
I'm all over the board.
You're all over the place, and the others are the ISOs. Very good. So let's go to the next one. And that is, since we're talking about logistics, what's your favorite road trip movie?
Really, movie?
Whatever, what comes to mind, you know, when we're talking about Eurotrip. Is it a movie? Fantastic. Is Eurotrip a movie or is it just fantasy? I mean, what is that? Who wrote?
Maybe I'm just tripping.
Okay, yeah. Oh my God. Okay.
Ideas for long nights.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, something to do over the Christmas vacation.
So,
Eurotrip is a movie.
So then, Tone. You know that Tone always does very, 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 very long trips. And the last time I talked to him, no, it's not true the last time, but the last trip was the one down to Gambia, right? When you took, but that was a car, not a motorcycle, when you went by car down to Gambia, right? When was that?
Well, that's very true indeed, yeah. And this trip is happening every year, but well, as you can imagine, this year it was cancelled because of Corona. So we will be on the list for next year. So next October, Hanneke and myself are planning to drive again through the Sahara to Gambia.
Really? That's very impressive. You know that we have a colleague coming from the Gambia. So, I mean, that's the official name of the country, the Gambia. And well, yeah, very impressive also.
Okay.
Yeah.
Before I leave, I should contact your colleague.
Yes, no, seriously, yes. So
Okay,
they do have a
great.
mango farm there. We can tell you anything about mango.
Okay, great.
So then we have in very big and bold, Little Miss Sunshine. Who put that one?
Many people.
Yes.
Jan.
Who was that, Jan?
Jan.
Ah, okay. So that's your favorite one.
But that's
I
the
also
first
put it mainly because
I really liked it. So
And do we have more than one answer to that one? Because
Yeah.
it's big.
I added up on that one, mainly because that was one I actually remembered that I actually watched. I completely blanked. But it's a good one.
Very good. So
I
now
can get behind that.
the next question is a little bit more specific, I think, already when it comes to logistics. What is it, Angelot? What comes to your mind when you think about logistics? And you are allowed to put in Amazon if you want to. But I mean, really, first thoughts, you think about logistics, what comes to your mind? Ah, okay.
Honest work.
Train station, okay. Network. What else do we have? Borders, paperwork, yeah, good one, yes. Supply chain, VAT, yes. Where are the customs? Yes. Wow, okay. Anything else? Where's the Brexit here? Yeah, maybe that's the next one.
Customs issue.
The custom. Indeed. So efficiency, special transportation. So who put in the paperwork?
I did.
Yeah, because why?
I did too.
Yes.
Well, I organized Holland at CERN 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And I had to organize some pieces that would have to go to CERN and back.
Yeah.
Then you had all kinds of paperwork to sort out. It was really a nightmare.
Okay.
For very little effort, for very little, you had to do a lot of work. So yeah.
Okay, so have you really hands-on experience doing it yourself, so to speak?
Yeah.
So Martin, what did you put in?
I did the supply chains, first reaction, then I thought it's practical, honest work. I did it once myself for a couple of months as an intern in school, so it's somehow fulfilling. It's easy. And then I put in the VAT taxes and the export control.
Okay.
Because this is we have Indian and Russian partners, so we even joke, which is really real. We send some advent calendars, so some chocolates to Russia and India, and we need to fill out export control papers for this. It's a €5 present. Yeah.
And it's more. I could tell you stories about what happened to us yesterday, because we also have an event next week where we want to send a box, again, copying your own ideas, you know, and we want to send it to Switzerland, to Russia and South Africa. I can tell you, I mean, it's crazy. No? Nikolai, what did you put in?
I put in planes, trains, and automobiles, but then I realized I was on the previous survey.
Okay.
Exactly. I mean, the whole planning and things that need to fit together.
Yeah. So Sonia put in the paperwork. Anything else?
Yeah, I think I was one of the people who put in VAT.
Okay, so that seems to be a big issue then. Are you, as a fair, are you VAT exempt? Just a question.
Actually, I have a couple of interests in logistics.
Yeah.
First is because I also work in export control. So, hi, Martin. Sorry about the chocolates, but they could have been dual use, you know. And the other thing is, of course, that Martin and I and the rest of the team are very interested in following up on in-kind. What are they called now?
Delivery, I guess. Then.
Exactly, on the in-kind deliveries.
I guess this is, Antonio, where you come in, right? So.
Yes, so in kind there was a lot of transportation. Actually, what I put like word were problems, not the positive wording. Mainly customs issue that can both for the border, of course, of in kind from Russia, that is complicated. And also when you have a system that are on the special attention of the custom because you don't pay, of course, the custom fee, you have also to custom issue because you have to inform the custom of any movement even in Germany, from Germany, even in Europe.
Wow.
And this is a very big issue, and you have really to have a direct contact, a person that is specialized in contact with the custom. And the other one is special transportation that seems positive, but in reality is because sometimes it's missing a special transportation for some kind of system that perhaps they need particular attention, like refrigeration and so on. And it's a bad surprise when it's arriving.
And then I have a question to Anton, but I guess it will come later also. As a distributed facility, what's your, let's say, what's your headache?
Actually, to be honest, we kind of are devoid of any of these kinds of headaches because the distributed facilities, the local facilities are responsible for their own equipment. So we really don't have any of this that we have to worry about. And to be honest, I'm quite relieved about it, I have to say. It sounds like a nightmare.
Okay. No.
The worst that we do suffer from is when doing research projects and we have to ship biosamples around Europe. That has its own complexities, obviously. So anything to do with human matter, that can be a pain in the butt.
Indeed, that is something we want to address because I think that's on the next slide. If we move forward, indeed, so what's the background? And that's really, the whole idea was, let's say, brought up by our logistics department at ESS, and it has two drivers. The one is obviously ESS is now in the middle of the construction, and the first years we spent on building the houses, the facilities, so to speak, and now we have to fill them with equipment. And this equipment can be really huge. I mean, pieces of equipment as in-kind contributions coming from our partners from everywhere in Europe. And what you can see here on the left basically is the target wheel vessel, and it was pretty big, and it worked and got through this gate, but I mean to basically ship that from Bilbao to Lund has been a big effort, and they had to put it on the ship and then they had to bring it back in and so on. So this is one aspect we want to address in this RI Logistica. And the other aspect that also we have experienced, of course, in a smaller scale, since we're a small, let's say, since we're not officially in operation, but there's one part that's our deuteration lab that is already in operations, and where we suddenly faced also the issues, obviously, that COVID brought on us, so to speak, by not having users coming on site, but basically having to ship in their samples. And then the question is, I mean, how do you get rid of them again afterwards? How do you ship them back, and who's in charge? Because the normal, let's say, modus operandi is that the users come with their samples, they travel by plane or by train or whatever, come to the facility, take care of all of that with the help of the instrument scientists, and then take the thing back if it's, I mean, still alive, so to speak. So these are the two aspects we would like to address in an event. And for that event now, we would like to basically test your interest, whether you think this is relevant, not only for you, I mean, for your organization, and then also to test what aspects are interesting for you. And our idea is then to identify what are the overlaps. We think they might be not that big between the user side and the supplier side. On the other hand, in our organization at ESS, we have one department that is dedicated to logistics. So they will have to deal with it in two different, let's say, capacities, so to speak. And this is what we want to identify: where are the overlaps and where do we, let's say, can learn from each other in the two different pillars, so to speak, and what would be needed to, let's say, establish a sustainable learning platform, or however we call it, a forum, something where people can go and learn from other people's challenges and solutions. That's basically the idea we have in mind. So, and for that, we want to get your input now, and we move on to the next question, which: do logistic aspects play a role in your wider daily professional routines? So that is not your organization only, but also your personal routines. And then Antonio has to admit they used to do in the past, but thank God they don't anymore.
That was my point, but I put yes in any case.
Yeah. So, who are the no's? Antonio, okay, you just explained that it's, yeah, Antonio, it's you. No? Then who else is a no?
Me, Jan.
Yeah, because you don't plan to do any event at CERN anymore. And that's why.
No, but this happens every couple of years, so it's not part of my daily routine.
Question, are logistic companies in your portfolio?
No, not really.
Mm.
They ship to CERN, and they.
Because that is something, I mean, where we also have a market, obviously. I mean, on the one hand side, the logistics providers, so to speak, they are the ones who in the end have to help us out. And I think there are huge margins there, especially when on our end, you're not well prepared, you know, the bill gets higher and higher. So that is maybe something to consider for the ILOs. I mean, if you have.
May I ask, until which part of the logistical supply process is the supplier responsible? Where do you take over? When it's inside your gates or where it's in situ?
That is indeed the big question that is defined by the contracts. And that is, I think, changing from contract to contract.
Exactly.
How did you have a common approach at Exfel for the in-kind supplies? Was it?
Yeah, usually it's up to the supplier, but this is in the contract for normal delivery. But when there is some kind of changing or further process and so on, we took care also.
And there, I mean, so I'm really curious to see what the other, let's say, organizations are facing, because we also are in touch with the CERN guys, and ESO the other day we had a discussion also where they have to bring it up to the Atacama Desert in Chile and so on, their thing. So that is really also fun to listen to them, no? Or when they block off the roads in France in order to get the ITER equipment in. No? Okay.
I think at CERN.
Yeah.
I think usually onto the terrain, and the CERN is responsible for getting it into the cave, wherever exactly where they need it. And what CERN does, they usually exclude transportation cost from the tender to make sure that depending on where you are, you do not suffer if you have to transport your equipment own way, which I think is a good thing.
Because then obviously always the local ones would have an advantage, because it's, you know, There a question, when you ship things into CERN, is this Switzerland or is it extraterritorial?
No, it's Switzerland.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
We have the French side, but basically everything is delivered to Switzerland.
Okay. I can see. That will be all very interesting what we have to discuss. No? So next thing, what do we have? I think we have one or two more questions. If you choose yes, please explain the logistics aspect in detail. So the no's are off the hook now, and the yes have to come in with something. hear people typing. That's a good sign. Or someone is writing emails and not listening. Okay, coordinating B. Yes. Yes is okay. Anything else than yes? Coordinated rotation issues, time, okay. Aha.
I'm talking about the past for the
Yeah.
AKC, of course.
Yeah.
This is typical.
So you are here the orange one, the in-kind related collaboration, sending materials or parts to partners, or who was that?
No, I was coordinating coordinate transportation issue in time with the overall construction deadlines.
Yeah, okay.
Even they are paid by the other one, you have to take care.
Yeah.
And also document preparation for customs issue.
Yeah. How long in advance, basically, did you start planning the logistical details? You know, I mean, I don't know, when they had a delivery in May, when did you start with all the logistics aspects, if it was coming? I mean, you have Russian partners. Did the Russians, how did they ship it, for example?
Yeah, this was done really in advance. We have a special supplier for Russian, of course, transportation, but in May you have really to think 3 months before to take care of all possible issues. So before the system is even completed. So it's really coordination sometimes. The time is really narrow.
And the supplier you had to work with, or did this supplier go through a tender procedure? I mean, that's an ILO question. And could you make a contract basically with Exfil being the exclusive supplier for logistics related to Russia?
Well, each IKC make their own, follow their own national rules. But of course, depending on the amount of cost you have in Europe, you know, you have to make even a tender. Usually, there is not so many cases because you don't overpass 30,000 euros, of course. But for special transportation, it can be also.
So who sent samples to beam time, coordinating beam time samples experiments that we have twice? Who was that?
I added one of those.
Yeah, okay, so tell us.
Ladies first.
Ladies first, yes.
Well, what can I say? This is of course necessary when performing measurements for companies. Yeah.
And did you do that, or did someone else within your environment do that?
It would be me or one of my closest colleagues.
But you do it yourself. You don't have done a dedicated logistics department where you say, "Come on, pick it up." And
no, not really for this, because it's specialized enough that it makes sense that we stay in touch with the facilities.
Okay.
I think our experience of highlight the new challenges that are in this area. Where you mentioned that if you go there to the beamline yourself, you know what's going on. But in this case, actually, we had there was errors done by the people on the beamline since the discussion were we not clear in our communication or what goes on. So it's kind of a new paradigm that has to be introduced there.
Good.
You have to check these beamline samples whether they are activated. Whether you can
That's another thing,
Okay.
But obviously, also right now I'm working well, as you know, most of you probably with the ESS on implementing the access for industry. So I'm very interested, especially now also in these questions. So it's my task to go and highlight both some ideas and some ways to implement. So I'm interested in all the input I can get from any of you. So if any of you having some good input, or Ute, the event that you were discussing, if that can provide me with something, that would be great.
Yeah, and that leads us to our last question, I think, because that is, what would you want to address, right? Yes. Which topic would you be interested in learning more about, exchange best practice? Because this is basically how we now want to collect the input for how should we scope this event? What do you want to know? Learn about other people's nightmares or successes, or how did they save costs? I guess that's what I'm. Because my understanding is there's a huge bandwidth in what transportations and logistics can cost. What will happen after Brexit? Okay, I mean, yeah. 10% of our in-kind contributions, let's say in terms of volume or value, come from the UK. So that will be interesting to see how that will work. No? So I guess, Grete, were you the practices on samples, or was it Nikolai, or who was that?
No, it was me.
Okay, Antonio, okay.
Because I'm working on this now.
Yeah.
So we have the user between the facilities are always quite the same group. And I think we can share a procedure for conditions, safety, customs.
Very good. Use of visualization tools, what's that?
I put that in there, and I've seen it a couple of times at each business forum and similar, where people in the construction phase are using complete 3D models to see how things will fit in and everything. And basically, those concepts could be elaborated, but actually also transferred to the user side.
So, customs, yes. Who was customs?
I think everyone.
Everyone, okay, yes, okay. Build up intra-campus logistics and spare parts handling. That's also interesting. That sounds also Antonio, I don't know. Is it you or was it, who was that?
It was me.
Okay, so what do you have in mind? The challenges you're also facing, right, at the moment?
Yeah, it's of course, like ESS, we built a next door facility. Of course, yours was greenfield, ours was greyfield, but again, we struggle to oh, sorry, but you know, we struggle from being as a mid-sized campus with family company kind of structures, where you store your stuff in the cellar of your department. Basically, that was kind of one of the logistics of spare parts, for example, to coming to a centralized logistics department. So we have a small group. I'm not part of it. It's just a couple of connections. And for us, this intra-campus logistics is handled via framework contracts. So we made a tender for 5 years framework. Yeah. And this is just the campus, so the accelerator parts. The civil construction completely organizes its own logistics. And then, of course, we have this spare parts and claim management of broken stuff, which is sent back and forth, or where we, this is just, we would love to share examples how to organize this many logistical processes, you know, and many of these processes are taking 3 years, because most of the stuff will come back at some point. Yeah, so.
Very good. So, who wants the easy, smooth industry access? That must be Nikolai, no? Grete, okay, I mean. So, you're muted. Grete, you're muted, or at least we cannot hear you.
Sorry, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I'm working with Nikolai on a daily basis.
Yeah, that's
it all makes sense.
So very good. That may be how to keep the information on the delivery schedule up to date. That's interesting. Who was that?
Hello, it was me.
Okay, Sonia. So what do you have in? I mean, it's not happening at the moment, right? Or
it's basically a communication issue.
Yeah.
And the reason I brought it up here is because it's communication between FAIR and suppliers. We don't want to ring them up every week and say, when are you putting it on a truck? We also don't want to say, you have to send us a monthly report or something. But sometimes schedules shift, they're discussed amongst the scientists. The scientists have the schedule in view, and let's say the administrative part it isn't quite up to date.
Yeah.
And so something that we're looking at is who has the master information, and who else needs it.
And where is the latest information? Indeed, yeah.
And the main question is indeed, where is this? Who has the best information? It's the suppliers. How do we get that? And this also, I think, my other comment was getting suppliers to use component IDs, which is another side of the coin, because sometimes equipment arrives and it has the manufacturer's identification, but it doesn't have ours. And this requires a certain amount of detective work.
Oh, yeah.
It works both ways, because CERN is used to deliver parts that suppliers need to manufacture what CERN wants in the end. And then this just shows up one day, like a month later than expected, and then they still expect the supplier to deliver back to them on time, which of course is nonsense. But so I think it's a good point to discuss.
And then here, experience of special transportation. That's also, I think that's the last.
I added.
Yeah.
So if we can share, usually transportation is considered like commodities, but in reality they have some specialty basically related to the main area where they work. For instance, for the Russia, there are 3 or 4 that are really specialized in the customs issue, but also special transportation can be a kind of specialization.
There, I'm actually also looking forward to what the ITER guys will tell us, because he told us about special motorways that even had to be built in order to bring the thing in from the harbor. So I think that will be, we see the whole bandwidth, so to speak, of challenges that we are all facing in one way or another. So can I, since we're already over time, so to speak, can I then take it as granted that you're interested, that you will come to this event, and that you think there is, let's say, more to share from the experience you have made or you're making on a daily basis with the rest of the community? I just want to get your nods and say, yes, of course we will be coming.
Yes, of course we'll be coming. Thank you.
Very good. Maybe you unshare, Anne-Charlotte, and we can see each other and close out the meeting. So that was very, very helpful, very useful. And I'm happy basically that it is a topic, so to speak, that we can work with, because it's not only a topic for us, but then also for other people in the community. And it's also a horizontal topic that, targets more than one infrastructure set and set up, so to speak. So that's good to know. So, and I think it will, for the user side, it will help us also, let's say, to understand the challenges that are associated, not limited to logistics, of remote access, because that is something, I guess, that will become more and more, let's say, relevant for facilities, since I guess everyone has now experienced that it somehow works. It might not work well, but it does work. And what do we have to basically keep in mind to getting ready for that? Anything else, a point you want to make? Otherwise, we do a bit of Christmas competition now or something like that. No? Shall we actually, next week, it's the last time before Christmas. We could do some Christmas singing. Okay. So next week, Ed will be talking to you. What will he talk about? Have we agreed on that?
Madison, do you want to? It's about.
I don't have it up. So next week, we'll tick off this year, so to speak.
Yeah, and we talk about COVID and innovations. So it's a bit of a continuity of this on this conversation, and Ed will drive the episode, and we hope to see you again.
Yeah, and maybe it's also, maybe we need to add a Christmas touch to it somehow, So because I saw that already, I think, Martin, it was very nice to see that you also have a red Adventskranz. I don't even know what you call it in English. How would you call such a thing in English? What we Germans put up with the 4 candles. What's the English word for that?
It's the
Christmas tree.
No, that's
the candles.
Oh, okay.
Advent wreath. But I think to make it more Christmassy, Martin, maybe you need a lampshade. Although your naked light bulb behind you is very festive.
Don't show all the tricks at the first time.
Santa will come down there.
Yeah.
The rope for him.
So, okay, so, and also Nicola, you have your Christmas decoration in the background. I saw that already the other day. No? So we are all ready to go. Ooh. Okay, so I think the to-do for next week is get into a Christmas environment. You know, we need to be able to show that off.
I'm red.
Okay, that somehow counts. I'm green. And then we'll take it from there and close out the year by ticking the box behind COVID, although it's not the case. But I mean, to then look forward into a hopefully very healthy 2021. So thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure.
Thank you, everyone.
Stay connected.
Thank you.
Stay safe, and see you soon.
Bye.
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 Thank you.
Bye. Bye. Bye.